Welcome back, everyone, to the Crash the Pond podcast. One last time. One last time, Jake, for 2025. May I have this dance?
Are we doing this dirty dancing style where you're gonna run up and I'll lift you up and we'll have I had the time of my life playing in the background?
I don't know what you're talking about, but I am back for.
Whoa.
We'll skip over that, but
Okay.
I'm back for one last blast since it's the last pod of the year. Schedules kind of made it so that I could do this, so I'm happy to do it. Patrick will be back shortly, but for today, it's you and me, and you know what that means. Takes are gonna fly, bullets are gonna fly, and people are gonna be mad at us when the dust settles. That's usually how these
Will
things
they?
go.
I think so. I'll say this. I feel like out of all weeks, this is the week where people listening to this are probably going to want this. The Ducks have lost two games in a row, or two games in a row,
Three?
coming off the holiday break. Coming off the holiday break, two in a row.
Oh,
They lost four of their last five. Five of the last. There's
yep.
something. They're on their first big skid of the season, where I think some people will want to hear some of our takes. What we think what can improve, what needs to change, what needs to be impacted, all the stuff that Patrick and I have kind of talked about for the last little bit, what you've jumped on and talked about when you have, and everything like that. But before we get into all that, we do have one more game as part of our fun little partnership here with Victory Plus and their $10 million game prediction. And I think that you're the only one that's gotten one right out of all of this entire game stretch here. So
Let's go.
don't take our advice. Maybe don't tail our picks here. Pick for yourself. Think for yourself. But you have gone with, or do you want me to say your pick, or you just want to put it out there?
I don't even know who I picked. So
Okay, you picked Beckett Seneca for the game tomorrow, the 1 p.m. start on New Year's
that's
Day.
a good pick.
Against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you know what? Screw it. I'm going with Pavel Minchikov, the person that
Did you
played
change your
extremely
pick?
well. No, I didn't have anything in there yet. Oh, you mean
That
from
sounded
Milano?
That sounded like that sounded like a pivot. So
No.
for those who don't know, I've been messing with the Google sheet beforehand and writing in former Duck names for Jake to potentially read on air. So
Tried
very
to Ron
funny.
Burgundy my ass.
Very funny to me, at least. Yeah, I mean, it's an early start, and Beckett Seneca is a kid, so it'll be well before his bedtime. He'll be more hopped up on sugar
Red Bull?
and sweets. Yeah, whatever the kids do these days to get energized, and yeah, he's looked good offensively as of late. I mean, there's zero thought behind this. I just picked a guy in the top six, but I think it's a pretty safe pick for someone
Yeah.
who could be scoring. Also, it does feel like the Ducks have some kind of like bounce back potential tomorrow, where they're on a skid. They'll be motivated to kind of right the ship a little bit, and we'll see.
Yep, agreed.
Granted, it's against one of the maybe four best teams in the NHL right now. The Lightning are third in the Atlantic, but they're playing very well. They've won four in a row, and their underlying numbers are really good. Yeah, they have a plus 25 goal differential, so it's not exactly a get right type of opponent, but it's a big spot, and maybe they will rise to the occasion.
Well, I not getting too far ahead of how they've played this week, but I think this is going to be an interesting one for this team because, yes, it's a get right game, but also, even though the losses have been not great, like they've played they've played games that should have been closer than they ended up being over this stretch. Like they should have beaten Seattle. They probably should have been closer to LA. They probably should have beaten San Jose. And so, okay, you're now going to be playing a really good team in Tampa Bay. What can you do here? Can you take your lessons learned from those games and implement them against a very good Tampa Bay Lightning team?
Yeah, so I guess on that note, any takes from the LA game? There's only two games to talk about, so we can kind of breeze through these.
Honestly, with that one, looking at the numbers and kind of thinking back on the game a bit there, I mean, the defensive zone breakdowns for this team are just kind of that to me is the
Constant.
biggest, like that is the biggest thing from these past two games that have happened is just they have these big blunders that result in these massive goals against, or massive chances against, that the goals end up going in. And I feel like the story of that game is going to be similar a little bit to San Jose, but in the sense of earlier on in the season, the Ducks were still giving up those chances. These high quality looks that they've been giving up have just been constant throughout the season. They're an interesting team where they early on in the season were a pretty good Corsi 4 team. I think they were like above 50%, and even now they're still above 50%. And their real flaw was chances and the quality against. And their Corsi against, the expected goals against, was extremely high. And I think the one saving grace there was they had Lucas Dostal playing insane. He was playing out of his mind. And I think against LA and also then against San Jose, I don't think you can say any of the goals were necessarily his fault. Like the only one that maybe you think that in LA was I forget which goal it was, but it was the Byfield tip. But still, that's
There was also
tip.
a point shot in the third, I think.
Was it so? I think that was the San Jose game. But regardless,
the Byfield tip was in the first, and then the goal he let in the third was also from further out. So
yeah, but like, I guess to my point here is that I don't think he's been horrible, but the way that he had played earlier on in the season masked a lot of these types of situations, and that to me is the biggest thing of this. And so we'll get to all this probably in the good and bad. So overall,
you're zooming way out.
Zooming way out, way too much. Zooming back in on the LA game, from the number side of it, this ended up being tight, but I think a large part of that is score effects. This game was kind of decided early on. Ducks got some chances, but the high danger chances they allowed against were the storyline in this one, and that put them away before they really even had a chance to be in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that stuck out to me is that the first period was just where they lost the game, basically. And it's not just a scoreboard thing, but they just could not match the intensity of the Kings in that period. The Kings were playing a very structured game, as they do, but the Kings were also first to pucks. The Kings were physical along the boards. The Kings just played with greater pace, and it felt like the Ducks just couldn't really do anything to affect the Kings when they didn't have the puck. So what I mean by that is when the Kings had the puck, breaking it out of their zone or trying to enter the Duck zone, or even, I mean, controlling it within the Ducks defensive zone, it just felt like the Ducks were just kind of there. They weren't pressuring, but they also were breaking down with their assignments, with their zone coverage. So it just felt like they kind of showed up, rolled out of bed, and didn't put on their work boots. And I mean, that's a big problem when you play a team, especially of LA's type, where they are going to work and they're going to grind you down. And the Ducks just didn't have that intensity at all. Moving to the second period, I thought that they did pick that back up. That second period, I thought, was actually a good period for the Ducks, where they were back to controlling the play. They brought the forecheck back. They were just playing with greater urgency. I mean, sometimes like you just have to give a shit, and it just felt like in that first, of course they always care, but it didn't look like it. And in the second, I thought they brought that back.
Yep.
But because of how deep of a hole they had dug for themselves in the first, it was just too little, too late. And then in the third, they have some slippage again. The Kings just hold them off, and too little, too late. So all that to say that game I thought wasn't as bad as maybe the score sheet would say, but it still was kind of like more of the same of just these big gaffes.
Well, and that's kind of where I was getting at with the fact that the first period was really bad, and then you're right, the second period was better, but some of that is probably score effects at that point. I mean, it was 4-0 going into the second period there, and so the Ducks end up getting one there to make it a 3-goal game. But the Kings are probably coasting a little bit there. The Ducks do, like you said, get their chances, and I think that it was important for that to happen. But I don't buy a ton into kind of the rest of that game in some ways, just because of how distant it was even going into that second period.
That's fair, but I mean, I still give the team credit for just putting forth a better effort through the remaining 40 minutes, maybe not the entire 40.
20. Let's go 20. Let's go. They played a second. They played one period in that game.
The second was good, and then the third was just kind of like,
blah.
I don't know. didn't have a lot of
Just
takes
there.
on the third. Yeah, so San Jose, though, this is the fresh one. This is the one that
Yes.
happened just last night that I got to watch live, and I had not watched the game live in a long time, so that kind of rush of reacting and seeing everything happen, live, it's a fun feeling. Sometimes it's more fun than just watching the game tape back, a few days later. Yeah, this was a weird game. This was a weird game because I think that if you are just someone who did not watch the game, who knew nothing about the game, you would look at the score sheet and say, well, the Ducks massively outshot the Sharks. I mean, the Sharks, for all intents and purposes, barely did anything to get this win. They scored 5 goals on 13 shots. The Ducks blasted them with 42 shots, and honestly, I think they were at 40 with about 5 or 6 minutes left. Like they could have.
You were convinced. You were convinced they were hitting 50.
I thought they were getting to 50, and maybe that speaks to why they didn't tie it. But anyway, so they. I mean, in the last 2 periods, the Sharks had 3 shots a period, whereas the Ducks had 14 shots every period. So it looks like a dominant effort, and in some ways, I think it was. But if you look at the goals that the Sharks scored, it was a lot of just these mental mistakes, these big gaffes that we've talked about. And so I'm not here to hand wave what the Ducks did controlling the game, but I just think that where they are at right now, execution matters. It's not just process is important, and we harp on process, but this was a big game in the standings, and their execution just fell very short, I would say.
Well, and that's why I think you can look at this game from almost 2 different lenses. I think when you zoom out and look at the overall process, like this is what they should be doing against a Sharks team that, if you remove the standings, purely look at how they've played. Yes, they are on the uptick a little bit now, but their overall underlying numbers are not great for this season. And this is a team that the Ducks should dominate. And so I think when you look at it from that side of it, you can say, okay, the Ducks held the puck. I mean, the entire third period, it felt like San Jose got nothing, like no shot attempts, for a very, very low amount. I mean, they ended up scoring a goal off a shot that probably should have been saved by Mrazek, but the Ducks were the ones dominating. I felt like when it was 4-3, the Ducks were pretty much like, they were pressuring so hard. I was like, they're for sure going to score a 4th. It's whether or not they give up a 5th in addition to that. And it just felt like that was going to happen no matter what, with how they were controlling play, with how they were shooting the puck. They ended up scoring that 4th, but they gave up a goal going the other way due to Mrazek allowing a goal that probably should be saved. And so
screened.
But overall, this game, you can like zoom out and say, okay, this is what you want to see from the team. You want to see them dominating another team, controlling the play, controlling the puck, doing everything right from that side of it. And if they can clean up, now granted, we've said this so many times this season, but
that if has been brought up a lot.
Clean up the defensive zone errors, like this is a much cleaner game. Or on the flip side of that, if they just have a goaltender make a save on these high danger chances that they likely shouldn't, how do I phrase this right? That they shouldn't be blamed for allowing a goal on, but you still, from a goaltender, need to get a save in one of those situations. And those are the types of saves that they were getting from Dostal consistently. And I'm just going to put this out there. This is a 4-0 game if Lucas Dostal is playing like he was at the beginning of the season. Like, I think he makes a save on almost every single one of those chances. You think 4-1? They win this game.
Well, the first goal, like, just go through the goals. The first goal is a 2-on-1, basically, where it's a rush. Hellison goes to play the puck in the corner, leaves a guy open in the middle. Granlund is way too slow to get back, and Granlund had an opportunity to catch the man up out front and just started slowing down inexplicably. So you have a guy left alone in front. I mean, I'm not expecting Dostal to make that save.
Let me clarify here. I'm not saying that you expect him to make that save. What I'm saying is that earlier on in the season, he has made those saves for this team. And so I think that is the distinction I'm making. I'm not pinning this on Lucas Dostal, but I'm saying the difference between this game being a win and a loss is him making some of those saves. I mean, that might sound obvious, like when you think about it.
But that sounds like blaming him, though.
I mean, it's not, though, because you can't expect him to make those saves. There are
Right.
plenty of saves, though, that you can't expect him to make that he made earlier on in the season. And sometimes that is the difference between winning and losing, is making a save on a shot that you are not expected to make a save on with how everything went. Like that's just kind of the reality in some ways of how this is. And to me, this in some ways is a wake-up call, because of those high quality of chances against are now getting punished, whereas earlier they were getting masked. And I think that is something that is now getting more talk as compared to just from us, as it's getting talked about by the team, getting talked about by everyone now, more so with this team, because it's resulting in these goals against.
Yeah, I mean, on the first 3 goals, there's a critical error made in open ice.
Yes.
Whether it's a missed assignment, whether it's overplaying, whether it's a really bad turnover from Seneca on the 3rd goal. And all 3 of those lead to a man in teal, or in white and teal, left all alone, uncovered at the doorstep. I mean, so it's like, yeah, they only allowed 13 goals, 13 shots. But if all the shots are coming from the inner slot, you could say the same thing about the 4th goal with William Eklund's shot. Maybe that's one Dostal should have, but still, it's a wide open shooter in the slot where there's 4 orange jerseys. Someone should have him. I guess that it kind of, I think that the shot total doesn't tell the whole story. I would argue that I think that the Sharks had the better of the quality of the chances in this game, despite having so much fewer shots. Because the Ducks did not get very many clean looks on Askarov.
So I was thinking that through also while the game was going on, and wondering, and I think through the maybe first half of the game, maybe even through 2 periods, that would probably potentially be the case. But I think as the 3rd period went on, the Ducks did get a lot of really good looks, and Askarov had to make some really high quality saves on these really high quality looks from the Ducks in those situations. So I'd push back a little bit on that, but I think regardless, kind of going back to the original point of this, that kind of zooming out, you can be positive about the process, while zooming back in on the game, you can be negative on the mistakes that led to these goals against are the same mistakes that have been happening all season. And the fact that you cannot be allowing consistent 2-on-1s against, consistent half breakaways against to the San Jose Sharks. Like, you just can't at this point in time. You need to be a bit more structured in your defensive zone. You need to have better reads. Jacob Trouba got burned a couple times. I think it was the 2nd goal where he is just slow to react to that play and ends up being in the back of their net. Drew Hellison, like you said, pressuring deep in the corner instead of staying in the middle of the ice to break up the pass. Like, these are the errors, the miscues, and they're not one-offs necessarily either, in the sense of, we always kind of say, look at the numbers, because they'll show you things that maybe you miss with your eye test. But the thing is, and also the fact that a lot of times these very impactful plays stick out in your head. The issue, though, for the Ducks is that this has been a consistent thing for them. Even when the Bucks weren't going to the net, it's been consistent. And so I think when you zoom in on this game, you can definitely still be critical of a game that numerically looks great because of the defensive effort through 2 periods, in terms of not quantity against, but the quality that they were giving up against.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it's kind of like both things can be true, where yes, they did what they were supposed to do, in the sense that they massively outplayed the Sharks, but at a certain point, exactly like you said, it's you can't just say it's a one-off where, oh, well, they just got unlucky in that game, or, oh, the shots they gave up happened to be high quality, because we've seen this from game 1. I mean, we're about halfway through the season, and it's the same old story. We're 39 games in, and it's the same old story. So it makes it harder to fully kind of hand wave it. And that's why I think that there's so much value in following a team throughout the season to fully understand them. Because I think if anyone were to just parachute in and look at these stats and even watch the game, they would say, oh, Ducks were the better team, they just got unlucky. But I think for us who've been able to follow them more closely, you can say, yeah, they were better, but hold on a second, this is part of a pattern for them. And so that's kind of all this game really boils down to. There's a lot more to it. I think that the power play is a big issue, which I will raise later at a later point in the show. I think one thing I just want to say though is that the last thing I'll say is that Macklin Celebrini is very, very good. And on the goal that he scored, he just makes a great play in the neutral zone to break up a breakout by the Ducks and then immediately dart to the net and get himself open. Like that's kind of an elite hockey sense play. And then the William Eklund goal, the fourth goal, I mean, Celebrini just quick strike pass into the slot before anyone can react. So there is a little bit of that, but still, it's not as if it's a big secret that this guy's really good. So,
yeah, on your power play point, you have a 6-on-4, you're dominating play. You have to get more shots than they got, and more shots in tight than they got in those situations. Like, they got a decent amount of shots, but they have to be coming in more dangerous looks. You have to get cross-ice passes in those situations. You have to get good, high-quality looks to be able to put the puck in the back of the net from those spots. And the 6-on-4, they just, yes, they held the puck, but they did not do enough to be able to score. So
yeah, it did kind of feel like they were hesitant to shoot on that 6-on-4. Like, they weren't really directing pucks towards the net, and they were kind of struggling to even control it at times. So just kind of I don't know what it is with this team, but when things are really like set and stationary and it's about making controlled plays and just correct decisions, they seem to really struggle. It seems like they really thrive when things are chaotic and they can just make you pay. I mean, they're basically a counterpuncher in boxing.
Well, and I think maybe kind of, well, I guess we'll talk about the power play slightly now, but I think that's probably why they're struggling on the power play. Like, this is a team that has thrived on the rush. Like, they've gotten better at in-zone generating offense, but they still aren't great at it. Like, that's still not the forte of this team. This team wants to get 2-on-1 rushes, and that's not something you really get that often in a power play situation.
Nope. So anything else that you have on this game? Anything else that jumps out?
Nope.
I guess we should note that Drew Hellison didn't play in the third period.
Yeah,
and
he did not.
I mean, we can talk about this now because it might come back up later. Who knows? But is it fair to say that his spot on the roster is starting to be somewhat in question?
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I mean, I think at one point in time he was playing over Pavel Minchkov, but that's not going to happen. Ian Moore has, I think, supplanted him, and for a while there, and not really, or I completely kind of disagreed with it, but they had him above Ian Moore in the pecking order, and I think Moore has completely surpassed him in the coach's mind and is now playing over him, as can be seen in that game against the Sharks with the fact that Moore was playing a decent amount, whereas Hellison was on the bench, and Moore is on the penalty kill and all these situations. And I think once Gudas comes back, I think Hellison is going to end up being the one sitting for the most part in those situations. And so I don't know if maybe I'm as sold on the fact that his spot on the roster is gone, but I think his spot in the lineup is definitely in question. I don't know if that's there once Gudas is healthy, but I know where you're kind of going with this of why don't you just call up Tristan Luneau? Like, if Gudas is out sick for another game, especially if you're at home at 1 p.m., call up Luneau. Hellison played 10 minutes or something like that. Why not put Luneau in those situations and see what happens?
Right, because I think you're at the point with Hellison where he almost feels unplayable, to use a basketball term, where it just feels like if he's out there, he's going to make some sort of damaging mistake. And it's pretty clear that Joel Quenneville stopped trusting him, and it feels like I always kind of gauge how the team feels about players by what the broadcast says, because the broadcast is very plugged in and they love to drop in little nuggets. And Brian Hayward was very not so secretly criticizing Drew Hellison throughout that game. I don't know if you noticed that, but he was
100%.
He was being critical of Hellison, and he doesn't usually do that. And so that to me says that he feels comfortable doing that. And so I'm guessing, this is of course just me inferring, but I think behind the scenes, the leash may be cut short. So yeah, why not give until Gudis comes back, call someone up from San Diego, give someone a chance, whether it's Solberg or Luneau, just to see what they can do. Because I think that the Ducks went into the season really having high hopes of Helleson on this team, and having Helleson, especially with Lacombe, that has been one of their most heavily used pairings this season. And at a certain point, you just got to give up on the vision. Like, it just clearly isn't working. I still don't think Helleson is this non-NHLer that he's just shouldn't have a spot, but you've got to do something differently with how they utilize him. So yeah, whether call someone up or when everyone's healthy, I think he's just got to sit. Like, I just don't think you can play him unless you have to.
Yep. All right. Before we move on to the good, the bad, and open ice, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Crash the Pond is sponsored by BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/crashthepond. We talk a lot about the numbers on the show, the stats, the trends, all the data that helps explain the game. But the mental side of hockey is just as important, even if it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. And the same goes for life outside the rink. Therapy can be a huge help with that. When I went through a rough stretch in my own life, talking to therapists helped me see things differently and learn better ways to cope. It's a space where you can work through stress or tough emotions, gain perspective, and start building healthier habits. And it's not just for people in crisis. Therapy is really a tool for personal growth and self-understanding. BetterHelp makes getting started easy. It's an online platform that connects you with a licensed therapist and includes tools like journaling and daily group sessions. Just fill out a short questionnaire and get matched in as little as a couple of days. And if the first therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch anytime. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform people trust. Plus, BetterHelp accepts HSA and FSA cards, so you can use your benefits before they expire. If you're thinking about therapy, go to betterhelp.com/crashthepond or choose Crash the Pond during sign up to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/crashthepond, because taking care of your mental game matters everywhere, not just on the ice. And this episode's also brought to you by NordVPN. If you're looking for a VPN out there, whether you're traveling and you want to access your home network, or you want some better security and can change your location due to that and wanting a bit better cybersecurity from that side of it, NordVPN is a great answer for that. They're easy to use, connect with one click or enable auto connect for 0-click protection. They have 8,800 plus servers across 129 different countries. You can change your virtual location easily, and they have amazing speed. NordVPN is one of the fastest VPNs out there, and one NordVPN account can be used on up to 10 devices. And additionally, with NordVPN, you can get access to NordPass, a password protector. I've used it personally prior to having this partnership with them, and it's fantastic. It's a great way to store your passwords, great way to autofill, great way to protect everything, and also help you come up with unique passwords that you can then autofill and not have to remember off the top of your head all the time. So really helpful from that side of it. So you can get an exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/CTP. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the episode description.
Okay, so I will close out this kind of preamble section by saying that the Ducks are now 3-6-1 in their last 10. They have lost 3 in a row, and I feel like we have hit the first kind of juncture of this season. I feel like now, it's a fork in the road moment where, as things stand, the Ducks have 44 points in 39 games. They are at a .564 points percentage. They sit third in the Pacific Division. They're only 2 points behind the Oilers, who they have a game in hand on. The Knights are ahead of them by 1 point, and the Knights have 2 games in hand on them. But now the Kings are 3 points behind. The Sharks are 3 points behind after last night. And the way that the Ducks are trending versus the way that the Oilers are trending, the Knights are trending, the Kings are kind of just treading water. Even Utah is not that far behind. Not Utah, Seattle. Seattle is, and so it just feels like what started off as a really hot start for this team, they're now kind of just back in the midst of everyone else to some extent. And they have an opportunity to kind of keep up this buffer between them and everyone else, or they may fall back into that pack. And so that's what's going to make the next month, I would say, really fascinating.
Well, it's also, I think, going to be really fascinating because I think early on in the season they were riding the percentages a lot of the time. They had really hot shooting, they had really strong goaltending. Their underlying numbers were not fantastic. They were kind of utilizing both of those with a really strong offensive, really strong offensive underlying numbers to really get them to the point of getting all these points, amassing all these points, and getting to that point. But that has started to dry up a bit. I think the Ducks at one point in time were at like a 104 PDO. They are now at like 100, right around 100. So things have started drying up from them from the save percentage perspective. The team's overall in all situations save percentage, let me see what it is an 876 save percentage. They are overall actually sorry in all situations at a 97 PDO. So save percentage plus shooting percentage combined. So over this last little stretch, their play has improved from an underlying process perspective, but the shooting percentage has fallen back down to earth. The save percentage has plummeted also in that perspective. The Ducks now overall on the season are sitting from a shooting percentage perspective. They are 16th in the league, and a save percentage, raw save percentage perspective, they are second worst in the league right now. So they are 31st in the league and from a raw save percentage perspective. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they can push through the percentages not going their way, or not the percentages, but the bounces, the puck luck, the saves, all that stuff not going their way in these situations, and see if they're able to keep this continued positive momentum from the underlying metrics, or if this positive momentum from the last 6-7 games from an underlying metric perspective is a blip in the radar and it's going to fall back a little bit here. So I think this next 10-20 game stretch is going to be fascinating for this team. I think you're spot on that it's going to kind of make or break right now. They're just kind of in the mix. I mean, they are, like you said, 2 points out of first in the Pacific, but they are 5 points out of not being in the playoffs at all. And they are also only 6 points ahead of the Blues, who are, what would that be, fourth worst in the West. Like the Blues, the Flames, and the Predators all have 38 points right now. And those are your fifth, sixth, and seventh wild card. And so,
Yeah.
It like, even from Winnipeg, who's the last in the West, like 34 points, like it's a 10-point gap. Like, it is 10 points between Winnipeg and Anaheim. Whereas if you kind of look at the Ducks to like the Minnesota Wild, like that's a 10-point gap. So it's just, they're in the mix. If you want to take a positive spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because if you had said at the start of the season, before any game had been played, at the turn of the year, the Ducks will be third in the Pacific and will be healthily in the mix, you would say, oh, that's really positive. Mm-hmm. But given how the season started, it almost feels like a disappointment because they haven't kept it up. But I think that if you were anyone that was watching the process, you knew that they weren't going to keep that up, and that this is closer to what they actually are than what they were to start the year.
Well, and I also think that this little blip, could be a good thing for them, because it's
forcing them to examine themselves.
Well, and if this 5-on-5 improved play can continue, you're not going to end up getting second worst save percentage in the league anymore. Like Lucas Dostal is going to start playing better at some point in time. You're going to start shooting the puck a bit better. Like, I think that they're, with the talent they have in the top six, the amount of offense that they generate, like, I think that they probably should have higher than 16th best shooting percentage in the league. Like, that's all going to probably normalize a bit and have some regression on that side of it. And so that's all going to come. And if you can now marry that up with an improved 5-on-5 play, this is a team that should firmly make their way into a playoff position. Now, the question just ends up being, is that 5-on-5 play going to stay there or not? That is the big question to me.
Well, if you look at the upcoming schedule, you've got the Lightning on New Year's Eve.
Huge game.
Then you've got, I'll just go over the next 10 games because this stretch is fascinating. You've got the Lightning, the Wild, the Capitals, so then they go on the road. And on that road trip, they play the Capitals, the Flyers, which should be a very fascinating game for a multitude of reasons. Mm-hmm. The Hurricanes, and then the Sabres, who are playing very, very well as of late.
Hottest team in hockey.
Yeah, and then after that, so that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you've got the Stars at home. Then you have a home and home against the Kings. Those are huge games standings wise. And then you've got it, and then you've got the Rangers in town. And after that, I mean, it doesn't get much easier. But this little stretch here, I mean, there's no easy game. There's no night off. There is nowhere to hide. I mean, even the Flyers, the Flyers aren't great, but they can hurt you. They have guys who can do stuff. So
I mean,
it's going to be, and for damn sure the Flyers are going to be very motivated. Someone on that team or two might have some money on the board to make sure they win that game.
I mean, theoretically, the stretch of Columbus, now granted Dallas is in there and LA is in there, but the last 2 weeks should have been the easier stretch for this team. You played Columbus, who's not a great team this season. Yes, Dallas came after that, but then you played Columbus again. Then Seattle, who is not a great team. Then the Kings, really good team. Then San Jose. Like, this should have been the easy stretch where this team is picking up points. And
yeah, they dropped games they should have won, just plainly.
Yeah. Like
so we'll see. Maybe that'll flip the other way, and they win games they shouldn't, or they overperform. I feel like we've said that a few times this season, but I feel like we're gonna learn what this team is in the next month. I think that we're gonna learn a lot about this team.
Well, I think that especially as you're going into the Olympic break, like that's a massive like stopping point where the league is shutting down for 2.5 weeks. Or essentially 3 weeks now looking at it. Like the league is shutting down for those 3 weeks. Ducks last game is on February 3rd. Their next game after that is February 25th. Like that is a huge like break. And I think if the Ducks can make it to that point and still be in the playoffs in striking distance and not have fallen off with how this stretch is, I think that's a win for this team.
Yeah, they might make it if they can do that. I mean, this is kind of it. Okay. Let's dive into our plus, minus, and open ice section. So you've kind of teased it a few times, but I'll just put it out there. A plus, a positive, a very good thing is that in the last month, the Ducks are 4th in the league at 5-on-5 play. In 15 games, they have a 55% expected goals for percentage. They're only behind the Lightning, the Avs, and the Sens. So they are playing some very good hockey. So it's kind of fascinating that this little skid coincides with some improved play.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at with that. It's largely kind of the puck luck not going their way over the stretch with the improved play. It's interesting because some of the numbers in those individual games I think are a little bit skewed. And I think
15 games though.
Yes, but there are some the one thing with that I think is a caveat though is that you have these like massive blowout games from a numbers perspective for the Ducks with the game against Chicago. You have this game against San Jose. I think there was another one and there was a massive plus for them also from an expected goal share perspective. Granted, the Pittsburgh game was a massive negative from an expected goal share perspective. So overall, like, yes, it is improved. I think I obviously with everything want to see it over a larger sample, but there are building blocks there for this team from a 5-on-5 play.
Yeah, I mean, if you stretch it out further back, like they are still last 20 games, they're still playing very well. So
agreed.
It's not just a small sample now. Like they are playing better. Now it's funny because despite that, their on the season numbers defensively are still some of the worst in the league. If you look at the entirety of the season now, they are in fact above 50%. Expected goals for. They are at 50.6, and that is with one of the worst defensive metrics in the league. They have a 3.02 expected goals against per 60, so they are worse defensively than they were last year. But because they are so good offensively, 4th in the league with 3.1, they just eke over 50%. So this is kind of like the most chaotic way to achieve this number. There is just basically no half measures here. To be fair, that does make it more entertaining. It's such a weird kind of, I never thought that this would be the way that they would get here.
I think it also opens yourself up to some variance in that situation. If you have some high level shooting, that gets you some wins in some games maybe you shouldn't have won. If you have some shitty goaltending, that's going to lose you some games. Like that, I think is the good and the bad of playing that way. And so I think
Yes.
that's maybe the one caveat there is that when you play that way, yes, the overall numbers are good and you're going to probably win some more games than you aren't, but you have to have the goaltending to keep that up, because if you're allowing that many chances and you have some subpar goaltending, it's going to be hard to stay in games.
All right, let's hear a positive from you.
Pavel Minchkov in his partnership with Ian Moore. I think Pavel Minchkov over this last little stretch, the game against Seattle, he was very, very good. But I think overall he is starting to play a lot better. And I think, yes, I think he was scratched in one of the games over the last couple weeks. But I think his play overall has been a lot better. And I think specifically in the last 2 games, he was very, very good for this team.
Yeah, it's so interesting how I think Quenville said yesterday that that was the best game Minchikov has played this season, but he said that kind of to dodge a question about Hellison and why Hellison didn't play in the third.
Didn't play, yeah.
But yeah, he's very impactful defensively. That's the thing that I keep coming back to when I'm watching play is that I still don't see a lot of the offense, although he does love to sneak in behind the play to get a chance. I mean, that's how he's been getting his offense. But he is just so good at cutting off breakouts, passes in the neutral zone at his own defensive blue line. And it's just an interesting development in his game. And I'm very curious what it'll look like once the season ends and where he kind of lands statistically and everything, because he's looking more like just a trustworthy, reliable NHL defenseman. And even if you can quibble with, does he look like a 10th overall pick? He's still pretty young. He's what, 21, 22? Something like that. He is. Yeah, he's 22. So, we all know that defensemen do take a little bit longer. And so I'm encouraged by what I've seen from him lately. He doesn't look like a liability like he did to start the season. And that's a good shout. I'll give you another one.
Let's hear it.
Ryan Poehling. So, Corey Schneider, who we cite to all the time, has just released his player cards, the track data, which gives us really way more granular data than just, expected goals, shots against, shots for. He looks at things like zone entries, puck retrievals, high danger assists. And Ryan Poehling's stats are almost exactly what you would expect based on the eye test, but it's almost beyond that. He excels at, being involved in the defensive zone, retrieving the puck. He is way above average in terms of generating controlled zone entries. But I think unlike his predecessor, Mr. Isaac Lundestrom, I think the difference is that once he's in the zone, you can see it based on the stats. He does create stuff. He's getting shots off. He's, generating scoring chances. He's creating rebounds. I think that I think right now he's basically their third line center. He's not being used as a fourth line center sometimes. And correct. I think that I still have kind of I don't want to say doubts, but I still have a hard time moving off of what I saw him as going into the season, which is a fourth line center. But there is something to be said for the fact that he is only, he's 26. Now he's going to be 27 in a few days, but he's really in his prime. And I think you're seeing a guy who I still don't know if ideally he's your third line center, but he's affecting play very positively. If you look at the stats for just all the different line combinations, feels like almost every line he's on has positive expected goal numbers. And he's a pending UFA. He only has 14 points. He only has 2 goals. So he's not going to be a big ticket. But I'm just curious what they end up doing with him, because his contributions have just been really positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think this is what you were necessarily saying, but I think this is what you're almost getting at with it, is that I think if this team is truly a playoff team, Ryan Poehling should be the fourth line center for this team. Like, that is what you want from him in the situation, even if he's being used as a third line center now. But if he's playing like this, that is a very good outcome for a fourth line center. That is what you want from your fourth line center. And I would agree, like, Ryan Poehling's been good. I think he really drives play. I think it does feel like a lot of times he's the one one of the few players on this team that can get in on the forecheck and create turnovers on the forecheck for them and make a play once he gets the puck. And so I think Paling has been a very nice player for this team. It's always going to be tainted a little bit by how they got him. But I think if you remove that from him, this is the exact type of player that they've needed for a while for the bottom six.
I think that the problem, again, like you said, is just that he's doing this now in a role that's maybe a little too elevated.
Sure.
Where ideally you would have a center ahead of him that is kind of keeping him down there. Yeah, and I'll just loop this in and just say that the line of Killorn, Paling, and Nestorenko has put up some really solid numbers at 5-on-5, and I would like to see that line be together because those three feel like they play very kind of complementary brands of hockey, and the Ducks don't really have a line at 5-on-5 that can just kind of shut it down, and that's the line that I think gives you that. So I would look to keep them together.
I'll do two quick pluses, and then we can move on to the bad.
Wow.
One is Ryan Strome. I think Ryan Strome has continued to play well. I have no idea why he has been the one that's been the whipping boy for this broadcast, or not for this broadcast, for this coaching staff. I don't understand why he is the one that comes out consistently. And Ross Johnson, granted, didn't play against San Jose, but I guess he was sick, so that's why he didn't play against the Sharks. This has been Ryan Strome's best season as a Duck, and I think he deserves a lot of credit, a lot of plaudits for that. And so, just wanted to shout that out. And then also Nikita Nestorenko drew back in the lineup and thought it looked good against the Sharks. Like, another player. Don't know why he is sitting for Ross Johnston. Like, I know Ross has played well. Like, the underlying numbers for Ross are fine this season,
good.
But I don't understand the reasoning of that. Like, Nikita Nestorenko, I think, has played really well this season and deserves to be in the lineup.
Yeah, and talking about guys who are a bit of whipping boys, I mean, Alex Killorn is just always going to be that for fans because of his contract. But another guy who, when you look at his track data, all of his defensive numbers are really positive. And I think that that's noteworthy because, if you look at, for example, his retrievals, his zone exits, you need your forwards to be involved on the breakout. It's not just the defensemen who are in charge of that. And if you look throughout the different player cards, the different stats for all the Ducks forwards, a lot of them do not look good by these metrics. A lot of these guys are not very involved defensively. They're kind of just waiting and anticipating a pass or a turnover and trying to get out on the rush. There's very few guys that are kind of just playing it straight up. And so I think it's noteworthy that Killorn is one of the few that's really shining in that department. And so, again, just another one of those guys who is always going to be a little maligned because of his contract. And yeah, they all know they overpaid, but he's just a positive force on this team. Of course, you'd want more offense and more production with that, but he's just a helpful piece on a team that needs a player like him.
Yep. All right. Any other pluses, or should we move on to the bad? The minuses?
I just wanted to shout out that the Zellweger-Moore pairing has been really, really good. And, if Helleson is going to sit, I tweeted out a kind of ideal lineup today. And I was struggling between what you do between Moore and Trouba, because Lacombe and Trouba have really good numbers together. But do you really want Trouba being on your first pairing? Because Lacombe's going to play a ton. So I kind of decided, I'm putting Ian Moore next to Lacombe, and then Zellweger and Trouba have really good numbers together as well, or at least solid enough for a third pairing. But Zellweger-Moore, I mean, shocker, you put two really good defensemen together, two guys that can really skate, two guys that are competitive, two guys that can make a play, and things look pretty damn good when you just look at the numbers.
Yep. Don't have anything to add. Agreed.
Okay.
All right.
I know you're dying to get to the negatives, so let's go into it.
I mean, I'm not dying to get into them. I only have a couple. Wow. We talked about it. We've kind of talked about it. Just defensive zone awareness and Lucas Dostal are kind of my big ones. Like, goaltending in general. Yes, not to blame for the goals, but you do need him to make some saves on those high danger looks. So There's that. And Drew Hellison and Jacob Trouba got exposed against the Sharks, I thought.
Yeah, it's funny. Our negatives are very similar, but I'll add some more flavor on the Dostal one because Dostal
Okay.
is actually in my negative. But in the last month, so since end of November, he is at a -5 GSAX and a -2 save percentage differential based on what you'd expect, and that puts him at 70th in the NHL. Like he has actually been one of the worst goalies in the league in the last month. So it's not just one game where, he kind of looks a little shaky or he just only faces high quality shots. Like he's been bad for a
He
month now, and
he
that's
has
a
not had
problem.
he has not had a game, and granted, this is since he's come back from his upper body injury. Basically, that's kind of because he was out and then came back mid-December against the Rangers. I think was his first game back, or maybe the Islanders. There was a game there on that East Coast road trip, but he is in this last little stretch. He has not had one game above 1.0 GSAX, and so he's at a couple 0.5s, things like that. But he has not had one above 1.0 since the game in New York against the Rangers on the 15th of December. So he's gone half the month without a game above 1.0 GSAX. So he's either been at expected or below expected, basically, which for what this Ducks team is, they need more than that from him.
Do we know what was his injury?
I think it was upper body. They didn't say what it was though.
Was there any inkling about what
I
it
don't think
was?
so. I don't
Concussion?
believe so. I don't think so. I think something happened in practice. I don't think it was concussion though. I feel like it was like
Maybe
an arm or something like that. I don't know. I'm fully speculating.
maybe
Here.
he's
Don't remember.
maybe he's still dealing with something. I mean, because this is unusual for him. This is not the Lucas Dostal that we're used to seeing.
I mean, I think especially with the fact that Mrazek was out at that point in time also, and they had to have Budiets as the backup. Maybe he rushed back just to be able to be healthy so that they didn't have to have an ECHL goaltender being their backup goalie and running Ville Husso into the ground. So, I mean, maybe there is something there, and that's led to him having this poor performance so far.
It is strange though, because I just watching the goals that go in, I'm not sure that there's anything that, like, it doesn't look like he's being hindered with his injury, or like there's something physically that's hindering him. But it's so hard to say from the outside. Like his movements seem fine. I think that I hate doing this, but maybe there is something too of the league kind of not figuring him out, but knowing a little bit more of where he struggles. And it's pretty clear, at least just by my eye test, I don't know if the stats back it up, that the point shots with traffic, I guess that'll give a lot of goalies trouble, but I feel like teams really get him on that, where he lets in shots from the point with deflections or through screens maybe more than he should, and maybe part of that is because of his size. I don't know. He's not a small goalie. He's 6'1", but he's not, he's not a behemoth back there. So I'm wondering kind of what to make of all of this. I mean, it also could just be honestly that, it's just regression to the mean. He was so hot that it's almost like now he has to kind of come back down to eventually normalize again. I don't know, but it's something just seems off with how poor he's been, because this just is so out of character for what we've seen from him. I mean, ever since he's been in the NHL, he's been a good goalie. So this is just strange to see.
I mean, it's still, so I'm curious. It's been a while since I've looked at this, but HockeyViz has their saving chart in all situations, looking at different shot types with how the NHL classifies them. Wrist shot snapshots, 47.7 expected goals against, 43 actual goals against. So above expected, better than expected from a wrist/snapshot perspective. Slap shots, 6 expected goals against, 4 goals against. So better than expected for slap shots. Backhands, 4.9 expected goals against, 5 actual goals against. So basically at expected with backhand shots. Tips/deflections, 11 expected goals against, 19 goals against.
My theory.
That is the driver. And that was what we talked about early, right?
Did my eye test just get proven? I think so.
Well, and that was, I remember earlier on in the season, I think it was the Dallas game. It felt like Dallas was really making a point, and granted, it could just be how Dallas plays, but really trying to work on tip plays with Lucas Dostal. And I mean, that's kind of what the numbers are bearing out here now that we have a larger sample from him. And that is in some ways where he struggles, is when there are tips on plays, tips on pucks, and reading those in those situations. And now, granted, I don't know how many of the goals against the Sharks. I don't think many of them were tips, but LA, there were some tips there for sure that ended up in the back of the net. And those are tough plays to make, but that is something that he does struggle on. I think as a goalie, you do still have, like, you can't just say there was a tip on the play, the goal's automatically supposed to go in. It's not on the goalie. Like, a goalie has to make some saves on those. And so I think that is where he struggled a bit.
Well, especially in the playoffs, you have to battle through screens. There's going to be so much traffic in front of the net, and it's something that all goalies are good at. But it is interesting because you look at like the NHL edge data, and he is below average on long range save percentage. So the average is 968. He is at 963, and I'm curious if you were to distill that further to screens and tips, what it would look like.
Give me another goalie that you would say should be in the similar vein as Lucas Dostal. I'm curious where they would be at on tips/deflections.
I don't know, Saros, but has he been healthy?
Let's see. UC Saros, Nashville. He is, I mean, he's definitely been healthy looking at the number of shots. It looks like, 10.5 expected goals, 9 actual goals against.
Okay.
From
and he's smaller.
Deflection.
He's 5'11". I mean, part of this could just be variance, and like there is that element.
But we're building a sample here now. The sample is getting larger and larger in these situations.
But is that for his career, or is that just for the season?
That's for the season.
Okay, so
Both
it's
of those
still.
numbers are just,
I don't know. Dustin Wolf, smaller goalie, really good goalie, but smaller. They're both about the same size.
Dustin Wolf for this season, because you can't do over a career. 15 goals on 10.7 expected goals.
Yeah, there you go.
Similar.
Maybe we're onto something.
But I think Dustin Wolf has been okay this year, not great.
But it kind of makes sense intuitively that if you're smaller, it's harder to see around these giant beasts in front of you, and so you're going to be more susceptible to tips.
Last year, Dustin Wolf allowed 16 goals on 23 expected goals from tips and deflections.
Right. He was amazing last year.
Let's see. Where was Dostal at last year, just out of curiosity? He was at 29 goals on 27 expected goals, so about expected. So I don't know if it's just where he has struggled at this season for the most part. Weirdly,
but maybe
he struggled on.
But maybe there is we don't really have the data as, because with what's that company called that does the goalie data? I know what you're talking about. Anyway, where they have it down to like the type of screen and when the shot was taken and all of that. And I'm curious if because teams have access to all that information. Oh, ClearSight Analytics is the one. I'm curious if teams have just picked up on, hey, he struggles in this area, and we're just going to exploit it. I don't know. I mean, it's also hard to deflect pucks in traffic. So maybe there's just a randomness element. But anyway, Dostal's got to be better, and I think he will be. I think that this is just so out of character for his NHL career that I'm willing to look past it.
Sure. All right. Let's see.
And someone, my minuses. Someone brings up in the chat, 340 Valiant says, how much of that is on the defense for letting those players be there? I mean, I think that's a great point, is that guys are, opposing players have free reign to go to the net and to get into lanes where they can tip pucks, and there's not a lot of resistance. And yeah, I mean, that's a good point, that maybe despite the fact that those are shots he should have, if opponents are afforded more opportunities to get cleaner tips, it could be part of it. Who knows?
Yep. All right. What are your minuses?
Well, okay. So this is part of my open ice, so I'll just mesh them together.
Sure.
The power play. The power play. The power play's bad. Power
Yeah.
play's not good. Power play stinks. There's just no sugarcoating it anymore. It is bad and it's been bad. And I think that here is where I land on the power play. Jay Woodcroft had an interesting quote at intermission saying that, we're confident that we have the right guys in the right spots, something to that effect. And I actually really question that. I really, really question that because I look at that top unit of McTavish, Carlson, Kreider, Granlund, Lacombe. I think there are guys in there who just shouldn't, there are guys in that group, and I'll name the names because I keep saying it like that, but Carlson, Lacombe, these guys have just been anchored to the top unit all season, and I just don't think they should be there at this point, or at least they shouldn't have a stranglehold on it. And I know that that might be sacrilegious to say because Leo's your best forward, Lacombe is your best defenseman, but for whatever reason, I don't think that their skill sets are translating on the power play. Now, if you just look at their numbers on the power play, their RAPM charts, like they're positive, they're having an impact, but I think that that doesn't tell the whole story. And I think that Carlson in particular is a guy who ideally you have him out there. And I think that Patrick made a point on text today, which I thought was good, which is that long term, you need your best player on the power play, and he has to learn to thrive in that environment. But for this season, I'm just talking about this season, he is one of those guys who is a chaos agent who thrives when things are messy and he can just attack and he can take it over. When things are set, when things are cleaner, there's a lot of just kind of lack of control in his game. And I think Lacombe isn't as bad, but is similar in that I feel like when things are more set, Lacombe doesn't really see things. He doesn't really see plays ahead of time. His playmaking, his aggressiveness, for a guy who is so aggressive at 5-on-5, doesn't it feel like Lacombe is just kind of there on the power play? Like he reminds me a little bit of Cam Fowler on the power play.
Bingo.
Where Fowler would just stand there, he would take his point shots, he would get you into the offensive zone, but nothing beyond that. And I feel like Lacombe is never looking to activate. He's never looking to go cross ice or backdoor. And so I would take him off of that unit and I would put Olen Zellweger or Pavel Mintyukov, but someone who's just more aggressive, who's going to make things happen, or go 5 forwards and put Leo Carlson at the top, have him kind of be your chaos agent. But I just think that you're at a point now where having Seneca and Gauthier not on the top unit is kind of ridiculous. And I've criticized Gauthier in the right face-off circle, but he's a better option there. Maybe not better than McTavish, but I would just like to see him be on the top unit. Have McTavish in the bumper, Gauthier in the right face-off circle, or vice versa. And I think Beckett Seneca just has to be on the top unit because he is their best dual threat forward. He has a great shot, he has great hands, and he can make passes out of those sequences. So I would just scrap Lacombe, scrap Kreider, maybe scrap Granlund, take them off of that unit, and maybe take off Carlson too. But I think Seneca and Gauthier have to be there, and maybe you can throw in Terry into that and Zellweger. It just feels like they are. I don't know why they're so convinced that that's the top unit, besides the names on the jerseys and the paychecks that are getting sent out. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't understand why Pavel Mintyukov has not gotten a look on that top power play unit yet. Because I think, I know you mentioned Zellweger, but I think Mintyukov is exactly kind of what you want there. I feel like Zellweger is very great on the rush. Like that is where he thrives, is getting out into the rush and then finding times to activate also in the offensive zone, sure. But I think Mintyukov is able to find the soft space on the ice and kind of seep into those areas a bit better than anyone else and get to the back door. Like I think that's not what Zellweger thrives at. He's not someone that somehow ends up at the back door. That's what Mintyukov does. And that's kind of what you want in those situations, to have the fluidity there to be able to get into a soft space where you aren't protected or defended against by someone and can get a good shot off. And so I think Pavel Mintyukov should work well in those situations, and he really should. And also on the flip side of that, why the hell is Jacob Trouba on the power play?
Good question.
Like, why is he like he just bombed from the point yesterday? That's all he did.
That was painful to watch.
Like, why is he getting power play minutes? This makes no sense. And like, you and I are both fans of Jay Woodcroft, but this makes no sense. The usage that Woodcroft is coming up here, and I don't like. He is not someone that should be on your power play. Yes, we have said he's better offensively than defensively, and that's one of actually he's a bit misunderstood. But the offense that he provides is not what you want on a power play. It's very different at 5-on-5 than on a power play. You need skill, and that is not what Trouba brings in those situations.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that there's a saying in football that I don't remember exactly. God, I'm gonna butcher this so bad. Okay, I did remember it. It's about the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's. And I think this power play is emblematic of that, because it's like, yes, you can run the most fancy, convoluted system, but if you don't have the right guys, it just doesn't matter at all. And right now, whatever they do, whatever they try to execute, the X's and O's don't matter. Get the Jimmies and Joes in there. And I think that just start by having the right people. I actually think he's dead wrong in saying that we have the right people. Seneca and Gauthier have to be on the top unit. Lacombe does not Lacombe, I think if he's on the second power play, I'm fine with that. The reason I prefer Zellweger over Minchikov is because I think Zellweger is a little more stable. I think he's just a little more sure-handed. He can just keep the play going. But you're right, Minchikov is more dangerous, I would say. Hell, why not try Ian Moore? I mean, Ian Moore's got some offensive instincts too. Like there are just multiple guys who I think are more than deserving of chances over Lacombe, and it's really not to shit on Lacombe. It's just because he's not going to tell the coach, no, I'm not going to go out there. So I get it. And Granlund is a guy that I go back and forth on. I think Granlund is just purely a power play 2 guy. He can make plays. He's got some stabilizing effect. He doesn't turn the puck over, but it's just so weird how it went from the system to now it's just you're playing the wrong guys. Like, if it were up to me, I would have Seneca in the left face-off circle as a right-hand shot, Cutter Gauthier in the bumper position, McTavish in the right flank, because McTavish is a great one-timer threat, Terry at the net front, and then take your pick at the point. You want to put Carlson, put Carlson. Put Zellweger, put Zellweger. Put Minchikov. But just anyone but Lacombe at this point. That would be what I would do. So, because, the power play is just it's not giving them anything right now, and that needs to change.
Yep. Or call up Tristan Luneau. Put him there.
I thought about that yesterday. It's so funny you say that, because I was watching the game and I was like, man, Tristan Luneau would actually be an upgrade, because Luneau is a chaotic player, but he is going to send it. He is going to fire shots. He's going to get in down low. He's going to attack. It might result in a turnover, but he's going to try. It's just so weird how Lacombe is this. That is how Lacombe is at 5-on-5, but it just disappears on the power play, and I'm very perplexed by it.
Well, I think it's because Lacombe is at his best when he's on the rush.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Lacombe is not as great on in-zone chance generation. Same thing defensively. Like, he's good at shutting down rushes against. He's not great in-zone defensively. Like, that is where he struggles. And the thing is, like, and that's just an overall thing for this team, is that they are best when it opens up. And the power play, even though you have an extra man, it is not as open when you have a power play. You have to be able to work to be able to create your chances. You're not going to have 2-on-1s, and so you need guys that are able to find the soft spaces, and that's not what Lacombe really thrives at. And so I think that's probably why they're struggling so hard, is that this is the style of game, or the style of offense that you have to create, or how you create the offense on the power play is not what this team is good at. And I think that they need to rework how they're doing it. And I think eventually, if they're able to find success on the power play, they're also probably going to find success at creating chances in zone also. I think that's maybe the good way to view it.
Yeah, I mean, the way I kind of have been thinking about it lately is I've been watching Lane Hudson play, and one thing that's stuck out to me watching Hudson is that he's a greedy player. And what I mean by greedy is that he is always looking for the most dangerous play possible. He is never content to just throw it on net. He is always looking for backdoor, cross ice, almost to a detriment. But I think that the Ducks power play needs to be greedier in that, like, there's too much settling for fluffy shots from the outside, maybe one cross ice pass. Like, you have to really, like, break that other team down until you have an empty net to shoot into. Like, that should be the goal. You have an extra man. That's the point of the power play. So anyway, long aside, but it's come up.
Unneeded one. All right, let's get to questions because we are at the 110 mark on this episode. So we're gonna start
no
with the
open
greatest-
ice? No open ice?
Mine was about Olympic rosters, but we actually have a question about it, so it works well.
I have an open ice for you, though. I have an open ice.
Okay.
Given that the calendar is about to turn,
Okay.
January 1st means the Winter Classic.
Yes.
Your thoughts on this Winter Classic between Florida and New York, played in Florida?
Why are they not doing it against Tampa? That is my
because it's the Winter Classic and there has to be an original 6 team.
Why are they not doing it against Tampa? Do Florida versus Tampa in this game outdoors. You want the intrigue, do that. Like, maybe they think that New York will help fill the building. Maybe they're afraid of the Panthers fans not being able to fill it, but Florida versus Tampa will fill that building. Like,
okay,
with where this is at, like that is my overall thought. The jerseys are good though for both teams.
Have you seen the logo of the event?
No.
It's got the Miami Vice pink and baby blue.
I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it, aren't I? By the way, our good friend Tyler Tennell brings up Dallas versus Nashville didn't have an original 6 team.
Yeah, and have they done that since? Also, that was the 2020 Winter Classic. You know what? I'm gonna push back on you. I think that this is a more fun matchup than Tampa, Florida.
Fun, sure. Intriguing, no.
This is a better jersey matchup. And that's the other thing.
It depends on what Tampa would have pulled out of their hat for a jersey in this situation. By the way, the Winter Classic logo is amazing. I love this with all of my heart.
The palm tree.
The palm tree, the pink and blue. This is
a good Winter Classic. I might actually watch it.
I might too now. Man, that logo just so I love that logo. I can't that is like just my perfect logo.
The jerseys are really, really good.
The jerseys
I think
are
that
excellent.
Making a like retro version of the Panthers jersey is amazing. It looks like that jersey might have been a real jersey at one point, even though it's not.
Can I say it's better than their jerseys now? Like, it would be a better home jersey than their current jersey.
I don't know about the stripes though. The stripes are almost too retro to be full time.
It's still better. I didn't say it's the best, but it's still better than their current jersey.
That's fair. I agree with that. And then the Rangers jersey on it, surprisingly, given how many Winter Classics the Rangers have been in, and they're just running out of content at this point, I still think this is a really good jersey.
Well, it works for the Rangers because it's like their 100th or their centennial jersey just flipped. Instead of being blue, it's white. Like, I think that's
and the
why it works.
Blue helmet.
Blue
helmet.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good look.
Yeah, and these are two fun teams. I saw Kachuk is skating again.
He is.
So I don't think he's going to play, but anyway, just fun times. Oh, and World Juniors. Have you caught anything? Have you cared?
I have watched nothing of World Juniors.
Have you cared at all? Okay.
I don't think I have, to be honest. It's weird.
It's okay.
I usually watch. I usually care. This year, have had zero interest, to be honest. There's a lot going on in my life.
No, I mean, that's completely fair. And I actually didn't think that I was going to care either. And then I watched Canada-Czechia, which was kind of a close game. And it brought me... And, I kind of have to care because of all the draft stuff that I do. But it kind of brought me back that junior hockey on a big stage with guys, just kind of it's just a different energy. It's just fun.
Oh, it's fun.
It's just really fun. And every year I tell myself, like, I don't really care about this. Like, especially for the draft where I think people go way too hard on players, or like a guy will score 3 goals against Denmark aka Gavin McKenna, and all of a sudden people will say, "Oh, look, like he's back. Look at what he just did." And it's like, he did that against Denmark. Who cares? Vice versa, a guy has a bad period and it's all over social media. So I hate that aspect of it, but I love that the hockey feels very pure. It's just, I mean, they're kids and they're just playing their hearts out. There's really not much else to it. So
yep,
uplift the WJC.
I think if it was more easily accessible, I would be watching it.
Yes, that is very
the big
fair.
Kicker. Like, that is the big kicker. It's just how hard it is to watch. If you don't have, like, you have to have an NHL Network, and it's not easy to get NHL Network.
It's very
dumb.
Stupid. It's very stupid.
And I'll say this: I actually like the NHL Network product. Like, I think it's
good.
Actually a good product. Like, I think the wraparound show that they do, the in-depth stuff. Like, when I have gotten it on, like, done a Fubo trial or whatever, like, it's a good product where I enjoy watching it. And I think it's a really good thing to be able to watch. Just throw it on at night and watch highlights of different games. And I think I'll be able to be a bit more plugged in and with what's going on around the league by having it. And if there was a standalone version of it where I could pay $5-10 a month for it, I'd do it.
I agree.
But, or include it with, like, just if it was easily accessible, I would get it. It's just, it's not, you have to pay $60-70 a month with Fubo or Sling. I don't even know if it's on Sling to get it, or have cable for it. Like, that is the issue, is just, it's so inaccessible that it's just not worth my effort at this point.
No, I think that's a great point, and it's unfortunate because it's a great product. The whole thing, the channel, the analysts, the World Juniors, like, all of it, it's just, it's buried in these stupid contracts. So
yep. All right. Let's get to questions. So, starting with Patreon exclusive Discord, you go to patreon.com/crashspawn to get access to our Discord. The Greenest of Bastards said, with Olympic hockey rosters being announced soon, which, by the way, what are your thoughts overall on some of the rumors? Like the fact that no Jason Robertson, but JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck will be on the team?
I mean, par for the course. USA Hockey has always been known to make head-scratching decisions, and Bill Guerin is not breaking that trend.
Yeah, very, very dumb. But he said, this is just for you, Felix. How will Jack Kopaka's skills mesh with those of his fellow Olympians?
You know what? I'm going to flip that. Have you seen what's going on at the Spengler Cup?
Isn't there an NCAA team?
Yes. So the Spengler Cup, for those who don't know, is, I don't know how to describe it, but it's basically an international tournament every year in Switzerland that is a private event. It's not an IHF event, I don't believe. Like, the teams don't wear their IHF jerseys. And the teams are based off of pro players from around the world, not in the NHL. So Team Canada has a lot of former Ducks legends on it. Care to venture a guess as to some of the players on Team Canada that may have played for the Ducks?
Kevin Waugh?
Well, I'll give you one right now. Derek Grant.
Really?
Grant is on Team Canada. Yeah, okay. He's been great over in Europe. Let's see. So you've got Derek Grant. You have got Michael Scarbosa. Remember him?
Yep.
Nicolas Brouillard, who played for the Gulls, and I thought there was one other. Huh. Well, anyway, Derek Grant. Oh, didn't Andy Andrioff? Wasn't he a Ducks prospect at one point?
No, he was a king, I think. I think it was a king.
Oh, or maybe he was like at a Ducks camp or something. But anyway, it's just a funny tournament because you just have like Kalen Addison. It's just guys who were in the NHL who no longer are. But yeah, in this tournament, you've got the U.S. Collegiate Selects, which is basically like Team North America. It's like current college prospects, and it's that's the tournament for Jack Kopaka. That's what he should be really striving to get to one day.
That's where he should try to.
The Spengler Cup, yes.
Yeah. All right. Logan said, have the Ducks improved this season in any measurable way? I think we have enough of a big enough sample now to compare with previous seasons. Style of play changed a little bit with new coaching staff, but the results feel very familiar. Is this just the best this roster can do?
Wow, nice and easy question.
Yeah.
I think that they have improved. I mean, it's pretty clear that they are a very good team offensively.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just can't deny the data because I
Correct.
watch them and I don't necessarily feel that way, but they overwhelmingly generate a ton of offense at 5-on-5, and their top six is very skilled. And so Quenneville is probably the first coach to have really brought this out of the team. Because, yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
could say that Aikens let the guys play and this and that, but it never felt, even then, that the players were truly being optimized. And Quenneville has just said, I'm putting my best and most skilled players in the top six, and I'm just never going to take them out. And that has yielded positive results. I think that you can debate pretty much the rest, but that is something to point out.
Yeah, and to the point of, is this the best the roster can do? Like, I think right now, probably, but it relies on, like, improvement from young guys. It relies on, like, I think they can improve defensively. I think at a certain point, like, they are who they are. But I think that maybe this season, this is the best that they can do. But I think that are building blocks from this season.
Yeah, I think that generally younger players struggle more defensively. And so it's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know how much better they can do, but they can be better, and they will be. Maybe not this season, but they will be. So
Yeah. David said, there have been rumors of Verbeek wanting to add us another scoring forward. With the team's defensive struggles, does it make sense to add a two-way forward instead, or even someone who is great defensively and just okay offensively? Or does adding a scoring forward balance the lineup in a better way to facilitate, I am struggling today, better team defense?
I think that I don't mind the notion of adding more of a two-way guy, because I feel like what they're really missing is a bridge between the top six and the bottom six, because it feels like all of their top six guys are very specific offensive players, and all of their bottom six guys are really kind of just that. Having a guy who's maybe more of a middle six, really solid defensively, can drive play, but can also hang offensively. I think this is what Mikael Granlund was supposed to be.
I was about to ask you that. If you think that everything you're saying is, I think, what they thought Mikael Granlund would be for them.
I think they need to try that again.
Yeah. So let's see. Frumi from Pat Verbeek said, have the power play units reached their ceiling with this roster? Is there any path for improvement with the extra man? I mean, I think there's a ton of improvement.
We covered that, hopefully,
Yeah.
in enough detail.
Dr. Plant Wrench said, adding on to this question, is there a name that popped into your head as a two-way target? Didn't we do that on the Patreon episode? I can't remember who.
We did a whole trade episode, so I would go listen to that.
Yeah.
We talked about a bunch of players.
Yeah. So, all right. We are now going to plug our Twitch account and our Patreon, or our Twitch account and YouTube account. So for those of you listening on your favorite podcast services, you can find us at twitch.tv/crashthepond, where if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime gaming sub each and every month, and it does help out more than you can imagine. You get special emotes in the chat, special badges next to your name, or if you're listening to this and want to watch us live and have a YouTube account, and yes, I know everyone watching, everyone listening has a YouTube account. Go to youtube.com/crashthepond, where you can subscribe to the channel. You can like our videos. You can comment on the videos. Please, if you're watching this and enjoying it, please like our video. So for those of you watching live, please throw questions in the chat if you want to get them answered. But for now, it's a little quiet. So let's go to the shit show questions. And if nothing comes up, we are going to get out of here. Or actually, Taylor Raid in our YouTube chat said, when will they try Cutter at center?
What do you think about that? Is that a viable?
I wouldn't do it.
Reason?
I just don't know if he's necessarily made out for it. I think he's been good. And I think keeping him on the wing, limiting, kind of adding more to his game, I think is the way to go from that side of it.
I think what's interesting is that he is just so good looking at the tracking data. He's so good at transitioning play. He is so good at entering the zone, generating controlled zone entries. And that is kind of a center-like quality.
Fair.
Now, the defensive numbers are not center-like quality. He doesn't really grade out amazingly there, but not horribly either. So I do think he has center attributes. I do worry a little bit because I think defensively he's not the sharpest. But I can see the vision. I mean, honestly, I'd be very curious to see Gauthier at center and McTavish on the wing.
Fair.
Just flip them. Because if you watch the game against the Sharks, like McTavish was really good along the boards. Like he was making plays down low, and Gauthier is doing everything in open ice. And it's almost like just put them where they already are, in a sense. Put Gauthier at center. And, you know, Gauthier was a center in college. He's it's not like it's not like you're asking him to do something he's never done before. And McTavish maybe could use going to the wing and having his game simplify it a little bit. So I don't necessarily know how bullish I am on the idea, but I'd try it. Why not?
Nick Zim 94 said, any noticeable consistent improvement in a single player other than maybe Seneca? I think Minchikov.
Yeah, Minchikov really sticks out just because of how poorly he started.
Yeah.
Noticeable improvement. I mean, I think Gauthier, you just kind of have to acknowledge the fact that he's just the volume of what he's generating. Because, like, I can sit here and quibble with, you know, how he plays and his play style and just kind of what it all leads to when this team is trying to win cups. But the guy has 38 points in 39 games. He's on pace for 40 goals. He shoots the puck a shit ton. He generates quality offense. It's not just spamming from the outside. Like, he is just kind of a demon out there. And like, I feel like sometimes we're kind of underselling how impactful he's been, because he's far from perfect, but like he's just stuffing the stat sheet. It's really incredible.
Yeah. All right. Let's end with this one and then we'll get out of here. 340 Valiant said, Felix, who is the biggest surprise on the Habs this season, good or bad? I'll let you end the show with a Habs question.
Good. Well, it's not a surprise to me, but I'm going to say it anyway. Juraj Slavkovsky, who people have seen in our Discord and me post in all caps whenever he scores a goal. But he is, in my opinion, and I thought this the first game of his I watched this season, he is a different player this season. He moves differently. He has improved across the board. He skates better. He thinks the game better. He passes better. His hands have improved. He is just better. And I'll bring it back to the Ducks and say that it's crazy how much young players can improve year over year, noticeably. And so I try to think of a guy on the Ducks who would maybe fit that bill, because the Habs have invested a ton into player development, and I don't think the Ducks have to the same degree. But I look at Beckett Seneca, and I just think, man, he's doing this at 19, as Salem makes an appearance. Mm-hmm. Hi, Salem. I look at Seneca, and I think, man, you just put him in the lab for 2 to 3 years, and he could... I mean, this is why they drafted him, but he's already doing this as a teenager. If you just get him stronger, you improve his technique, you get him smarter, you get him studying the tape, like, he could be a monster in 3 years, because that's what we're seeing happen with Slavkovsky, who, I will just say it, Slavkovsky was a number 1 overall pick, but he is not as skilled as Seneca. He's better in other ways, but it's just very cool to me that guys can improve, and that's why we never want to write people off. We want to wait as long as we possibly can, because you just never know when it's going to happen, when guys are going to make that leap.
Yep. All right. I think that will do it for us tonight.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed the show, there's some great ways to help support us and keep this thing going as we go into the new year. So this will be the last one of the year. Go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/crashthepond. For $2 a month, you get access to our patrons-only Discord server. This is where you get to connect with us, connect with a community of diehard Ducks fans, and it's just a very easy way to support us, where you also really will boost your Ducks fandom. You can up that pledge to $7.50 a month, where you get 2 bonus podcasts. You also get bonus player breakdown videos. These are all exclusive. And also we respond to topics and questions that you have on the bonus shows. So we really get more into what you want to hear about. That's at patreon.com/crashthepond. You can also leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe to us on Spotify, and you can also subscribe to us on YouTube. I don't know, Jake, if you saw this, but we actually did get a new review on Apple. Did you ever read it on the show?
I have not. Do you have it open? I forgot.
I do. So this one comes from Michael's Michigan Cap, leaving us a 5-star review saying the title of the review is Best Ducks Podcast. So thank you very much for that. And this is what he said. Other than watching the games, listening to this podcast is the most enjoyable thing about being a Ducks fan. And then in parentheses, or Ducks quote unquote follower for our French-Canadian lawyer friend. So thank you very much, Michael. We really appreciate hearing that. That review is kind of what it's all about for us. We want to make this a fun experience. We want to make it so it's better for you all to understand the team, but also to be entertained along the way. And anyone can leave a review like that, and it goes a long way. It's totally free. It just takes a couple seconds. But check us out on the other platforms, Spotify and YouTube. Subscribe to us. Follow us on social media. Check out the website, crashthepond.com. Check out Jake's articles for all these statistical breakdowns. If you're someone who hears us talking about stats but wants to kind of see them, the articles are a good way to do that.
Should also mention that brief scheduling note, there will be no podcast next week. We are going to take 1 week off, and then Patrick and I will be back in the second week of January, I think is the current plan of attack.
Yeah, so very happy I got to fill in today, but I think that this might be my last one for a while. We'll see. I'm trying to poke in when I can, but things will get back to normal in February, late February. But Patrick has done a great job. We appreciate him. So thankful for all of you. Thankful for everyone that has listened to us through 2025. 2025 was a great year. I had a lot of fun doing this podcast in 2025. There were some ups. There were some, can we call them downs?
Yeah.
There were some difficult moments.
Yep.
But nothing too bad. At the end of the day, this is something we just love to do. There's never a bad day. So thanks, everyone. Wishing everyone a happy new year. Be responsible on New Year's Eve. Call an Uber. And we will talk to you at the next one.
Happy New Year, everyone.